How goes it, ladies and gents? This is Enzo from Boy Basket, and we're back with another episode of Starting 5 for you. In this episode, we're going to be talking about 5 point guards that made the transition from player to coach. But before that, we want to remind you guys to hit that subscribe button. There's new content every week, and if you dig basketball, man, this is the channel for you. Now on to the list. They say that a point guard is the extension of a coach. Throughout NBA history, we saw so many prolific point guards that not only ran their teams to a T, but also provided savvy decision-making and great leadership. There are a number of point guards that won MVP awards. There are some that won championships. And then there are a select few that made the transition from playing to coaching. But the transition wasn't exactly easy for all of them. Let's take a look at some notable point guards and how they fared as coaches. This is Starting 5. Number 1, Magic Johnson. Now, as you can see, he's one of my favorite players of all time. I don't need to read out his resume because you already know how great he was as a player. As a coach, let's just say he had no business running a team. The great Showtime maestro took on the Lakers coaching job in the 1993-94 season, but it only lasted 16 games. That's a short stint, which is proof that, just because you're great at basketball doesn't mean you're a great coach. Now, Magic is terrible on Twitter, and he was even worse with the X's and O's. Number 2, Avery Johnson. Even during his playing days, it seemed like a foregone conclusion that Avery Johnson would end up as a head coach. The Little General did have some early success in his career. In just his second season as coach, he led the Dallas Mavericks to the NBA Finals in 2006. But in the 2 seasons that followed, the Dallas Mavericks were bounced from the playoffs in the first round, which led to Johnson's dismissal. He did land another head coaching job with the Nets in 2010, but he only lasted 2 seasons and 28 games. Number 3, another personal favorite of mine, Jason Kidd. After hanging up his sneakers in 2013, Jason Kidd quickly jumped to the coaching ranks with the Brooklyn Nets. But the most memorable thing about his stint with the Nets was the hit me stint. After his Nets stint, he managed to get a coaching job in Milwaukee, where people thought he could bring out the full potential of Giannis. For 4 years, J. Kidd put the ball in the Greek Freak's hands and let the offense run through him. Now that move definitely paid off as Giannis progressed year after year, but the Milwaukee front office just felt that they couldn't win under Jason Kidd's tutelage. Number 4, Doc Rivers. Now, unlike J. Kidd, Doc Rivers wasn't a superstar, but he certainly knew how to play his role perfectly. Perhaps that's what made him a player's coach. Rivers led the Boston Celtics to a chip in 2008, and he has consistently brought his teams to the playoffs. Now, he isn't really known for his knowledge of the X's and O's, but he's known as a great motivator, someone who gets his team to rally behind him. His stint with the Clippers may be over, but he wasn't out of a job for too long as Philly scooped him up real quick. Number 5, last but certainly not the least, Steve Kerr. Now, Steve Kerr won a lot when he was a player, and I mean a lot. He won titles with MJ and the Bulls, and he won titles with Duncan and the Spurs. When he was hired by the Warriors back in 2014, he had already absorbed so much from great basketball minds like Phil Jackson, Greg Popovich, and Mike D'Antoni, which made his transition to coaching so damn easy. Steve Kerr has already won 3 championships as a coach and even helped the Warriors achieve the best regular season record ever, 73-9. Steve Kerr is the first coach in league history to lead his team to 67 or more wins in 3 consecutive seasons. Not bad, Mr. Kerr. Now again, folks, this is just a list of 5. I know what you're gonna say. Hey, why didn't you mention Mark Jackson? Why didn't you mention Scott Skiles, Lenny Wilkins, all these coaches, all these point guards? And we can even add 2 more names to that list. There's Steve Nash, who just signed a 4-year deal with the Brooklyn Nets, and Tyronn Lue, who's coaching again. You know, he won a championship with the Cavs, and now he's coaching another championship contending team, the Clippers. So we'll see how that turns out. Here's what we can do. Why don't you tell us who your favorite PG turned coach is? Why don't you tell us who your favorite point guard is, or who your least favorite point guard turned coach is? Leave them in the comments section below. For now, be excellent to each other.